Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Setoff International Conference, Driving Security Innovation in Europe. I'm Paulina Menem, EU Project Assistant at Finova Foundation, and I'm honored to be your moderator today. As we start, I would like to mention the recent floods in Spain, especially in Valencia, a region close to our hearts here in Finova. This tragedy has claimed lives, left many missing, and caused immense devastation. So our thoughts are with all those affected. Before we proceed, please join me in a minute of silence to honor the victims and their families. Thank you. Today we gather not just to discuss, but to find real solutions for improving disaster preparedness. Through this event, we aim to equip institutions, organizations, and communities with the tools needed to build a safer and more resilient Europe. Let's begin with opening remarks from Juan Manuel Revuelta. He's CEO of Innova Foundation. Please, I give you the floor.
Thank you very much. Thanks all of you and the people that are in streaming. Good afternoon. In fact, our heart is in Valencia, is where we have our headquarters of Innova Foundation for Spain. And me, I come from Valencia. Then for us, it's a little bit hard, all this situation. I wanted just to share some data about what flows means. And from an environmental and geographical impacts, Valencia, it means 3,200 kilometers of roads has been damaged. 53,000 hectares has been inundated. 40, in some places, 650 liters has rained in 24 hours. If we go to Germany, in 2021, impacting over 400 towns, up to 250 liters per square. And and in 2024, again, it arrives 130 liters per square meter in 24 hours. And in Italy, we have just three member states. Italy, in 2023, 300 kilometers of roads affected. It was 350 million cubic meters of waterfall within 36 hours. Okay, and that's data, that's facts, it's not an interpretation. When we go for the most important social impact, casualties. In Spain, up to now, we are around 214 people died. Now, 115 people has no electricity, and in a lot of towns they don't have even water. If we go to Germany, into the Germany floods in 2021, 184 people died. In 2024, 5 people died in Germany. In Italy, in 2023, 15 people died. And in 2024, 1 people died in Bologna. Okay, not only in that countries, in Austria also they have suffered floods. And perhaps it's part of what we call the effects of the climate change, even if there is people that deny the existence of the climate change. Okay, we are talking of We are talking and we are talking in this set of international conference how to drive security innovation in Europe. And what we have to learn from what has happened in Spain, and especially in Valencia, perhaps is the lack of coordination, lack of efficient communication, lack of prevention. We have to learn as humans, and we have to learn about the protocols of emergencies. And now, perhaps for the new commission, we have to afford how to prevent this situation in the future, because climate change will increase in the future. And okay, today we are talking of flows, but also flows is what has happened just now in Valencia. But what about firefighting? Last year, 500,000 hectares was burned in Spain and Portugal. And about casualties, also it's important the people that has died in the last 3-4 years in Portugal, in Greece, in fires. That means emergency is a quite important issue. And it's because of that we are here in this Setoff. Of course, Setoff is a small project just for capacity building. It's a smart education and training programs for the central and local government servants. Embrace vulnerability as our greatest strength and innovative tools for risk management. Now, before this Dana impact, okay, it's not very funny, no, to learn about emergencies, but we have to learn. We have to learn, and we have that. Of course, that training course are available, are for free, and can certify to all the people that are listening to us. And that's it. We will have today speakers that represents different entities, public entities from the European Union, the Committee of the Regions, also from the European Commission, Andres Grifoy from the Committee of the Regions, second Vice President of the Commission of Environment, Climate Change and Energy, Mr. Erwan Martel, Head of Unit for Prevention and Preparedness Capacity Building, Dolia Monsignore from the DG Regio, Miriam Alba from the Red Cross. Okay, and after in this first panel, Mr. Demetrio Romero, from Human Rights Advisors in Human Rights Defenders Program. What we pretend today is to analyze the role of capacity building in the framework of the Setoff program and what to do in the future. And we would like to also to understand about EU funding for new projects in the future, Interreg, Erasmus, Horizon, etc. And with Latin America, why not the triangle cooperation? And that's it. Thank you very much for coming, and let's try to have an effective and inspiring session, because I think that we really need to learn, and we really need to work hard in this new commission for the next 5 years at least. Okay?
Thank you very much, Juan Manuel. Let's start with our first session, an institutional panel that will explore the role of governments, the European Union, and main organizations in strengthening disaster management effects across Europe. Please, first, I would like to introduce Mr. Andries Grijfroy, Second Vice President of the Commission for the Environment, Climate Change and Energy in the Committee of the Regions. Please, Grijfroy, you are online, so you can take the floor right now.
Yes, thank you very much. And I'm online, but if you don't mind, because in 5 minutes I'm on my office, and then maybe it will be easier. So maybe take now the second speaker, and then I come back after the next speaker, if that's okay for you.
Okay, but we can start with the next panelist. Okay, next I would like to invite Mr. Erwan Marti to speak. He's head of Unit of Prevention and Preparedness Capacity Building in the DG ECO. So I give you the floor.
Good afternoon, and thank you for inviting me to this event today. Indeed, it's taking place a few days after very dramatic events in Spain, but we all have the memory that these events, as dramatic as they may be, are not the only ones that have occurred during this year. We had also absolutely dramatic floods in Central Europe. We had again very devastating wildfires in Southern Europe. And this comes on top of very regular other issues. And as we all know, also a situation of war in Eastern Europe, in Ukraine, where indeed also the question of disaster risk management is at stake, directly and indirectly. So I think in that context, the question of security innovation is a very important and legitimate subject. So thank you for inviting me for speaking in this context. I think I would like to take you through the specifics of what we do in the European Commission with ECHO, the DG for Humanitarian Help and Civil Protection. I want really to frame this in the context of where we are today, on the 6th of November 2024. I think two marking aspects of the institutional situation. One is the Niinisto report. Commission President von der Leyen requested the former Finnish President Niinisto to prepare a report on preparedness union, and this report was released last week. And very much is insisting on the importance of preparedness that should be, in his view, all hazards, all of the hazards, all of government and all of society. And he starts his report by underlying that security is the foundation of everything, which is not surprising for someone coming from Nordic countries, because our Nordic friends and colleagues, they have developed for a long time this concept of security, of all of society security or full security. But indeed, for a number of countries in Europe, it's fairly new to have this all-encompassing approach. But yes, he insists security is the foundation of everything, and we should do more on preparedness. I will say a bit more later. The second element of context, it's the fact that we are with a new commission, as you have mentioned, Mr. Revuelta. Indeed, it's the new college, and as late as this very morning, the commissioner designate for crisis management, Mrs. Habib, was in a hearing at the European Parliament, and I followed this, and I'm not the only one, I think, in this room that to have followed very carefully this discussion. And in a number of times, in a number of occasions, the very topic of what we are discussing this afternoon also came. So just to say, to underline how much all these topics are relevant, are essential topical aspects of our times. I will try to explain you a little bit how we see this from a European Commission DG ECHO perspective, which is how to address risk management and how to leverage innovative technologies to improve disaster prevention and resilience in Europe. So let me give you a bit of background. Maybe some of you know that very well, but others maybe less. So as you know, civil protection operations on European scale are coordinated through what is called the Union Civil Protection Mechanism, UCPM. So when an emergency hits any country, in Europe or outside, and the UN agencies as well, for instance, or a foreign country, can request assistance via the UCPM. The mechanism aims to strengthen the cooperation between the EU countries that are providing support, as well as also 10 participating states that are participating to this network, to this mechanism, to improve prevention, preparedness, and response, the three aspects of how to address disasters. The 10 participating countries are both countries that are in the north, like Norway and Iceland, Balkan countries, excuse me, and Turkey, but also now Moldova and Ukraine. Important to tell you that on these matters, because of the treaty, the way it was drafted, and deliberately so, the Commission has just a supporting role. We have just a supporting competence, and the EU member states and the participating states are primarily in charge of civil protection matters and disaster risk management. So we are here to help. We do not have the primary responsibility. In the recent years, the Commission has adopted 5 disaster resilience goals. One of each of them, so anticipate, alert, prepare, etc. So one of them is around preparedness precisely, with a flagship initiative called Prepare EU, which corresponds to DRG goal number 2, prepare. And the purpose of the Commission there is to ensure that citizens are risk aware and that they are prepared for when disasters strike. So the idea here as well will be that the Commission will support the member states and participating states in increasing the overall level of risk awareness, to bring also prevention and preparedness closer to the everyday life of the citizens. I mentioned already the report of Commissioner former President Niinisto, and I will not add too much, but I would really encourage you to have a look, to read. It's a bit of a long report, but there are very good summaries that have been made, also produced by the team of President Niinisto himself. It was presented last week also by President von der Leyen herself. And indeed, on various aspects, this is quite an innovative approach, also in the sense of supporting the importance really of an all-encompassing approach, including with the private sector, with the military, with civilian military aspect, with external dimension. All these aspects are covered in this approach. So to be seen how it will develop in practice, Mrs. Labib this morning, she's confirmed, has announced that she would start working on a strategy in the coming month. I would anticipate that already early in 2025, we should have new elements in that respect. I would like to tell you a bit about prevention and preparedness capacity building. Indeed, because we have in the UCPM several tools that aim at strengthening the capacity of the member states and participating states. Not only to respond is there. We have these elements that do exist that you may have heard of, rescue, or the pool of assets that do exist. For instance, it is quite visible every summer when there are wildfires that indeed Canadair are dispatched from one country to another. And all this is coordinated by the EU Crisis Center called ERCC. But beyond this aspect, it's important to work also on the aspect of prevention and preparedness, to be sure that we are ready before that the events occurs. So what do we have in this respect? In ECHO, we have several tools. We have projects that we are financing out of a small budget line, so pilot projects rather, focusing either on single countries, supporting the civil protection authorities, or multi-country also grants, involving very often universities and other partners that are not necessarily institutional, or at least not executive institutions. We also have peer reviews that we are regularly conducting, where we help where experts from one country go to another country to review the system, try to help to identify the strengths and weaknesses, give advice, give recommendations. These recommendations are not from the European Commission. It's not the European Commission advising anything. It is experts from other countries that come with their best capacity, their best professional expertise in order to make recommendations and suggestions. We also have advisory missions that are a bit similar to the peer reviews, but of a lighter manner. And there are other forms of knowledge sharing. For instance, I would mention one, which is the Civil Protection Forum that we had in June last year, this year, in last June, in fact, and that was quite successful, and where there were plenty of sessions on various topics that were really useful in order to disseminate the information and to allow for networking between professionals, between practitioners. We also have a knowledge network that is very active, with particularly a knowledge web platform where a lot of information is available. Again, this is not targeting the citizen in the street. It's really for the practitioners to have the opportunity there to find information that are relevant to help them to better implement the tools that they have at their disposal. I would mention, just to give a bit of a flavor of how it was for 2023, we funded 16 projects under the themes of prevention, preparedness, and also for the full-scale exercises that are made in order to help training the civil protection assets of the member states. So these are very much these entities that are benefiting from our grants. Let me say a little bit more about the knowledge network, because it's really an important network to build a bridge between science, policy, and practice at the service of the civil protection community in Europe. The idea is really to leverage partnerships with technical experts that are inside and outside of the UCPM. Let me be very clear. In this context, we are supporting scientific and technical innovation, but not just for the sake of it. For us, what is important is to be practical, to make sure that really it has a concrete impact on the way the practitioners can work. In order to also address the gaps that represent an obstacle in implementing policies and investments. So the network serves as a hub, connecting and leveraging the expertise available all across the EU. I would like also to mention that for the new EU strategic agenda 24-29, it calls for all of society approach in crisis resilience. In that sense, leveraging research and innovation is critical to keep improving the effectiveness of civil protection. For instance, for early warning systems, something that was a bit mentioned, maybe sometimes not functioning perfectly and precisely, then that's where we need to work more. Disaster risk reduction, operational response delivery, etc., by tapping into game-changing technologies that create really a leap of progress, a leap of impact. It's important to mention that quite a number of the innovations are coming from the private sector and from the academic world. So therefore, the uptake of project innovation from end users in civil protection and government authorities is a key factor of success. It's not an easy one, because there is really, as we all know, a long way between a useful innovation and its implementation in the field. But in that sense, this is very much what I'm doing with my colleagues in my unit, and more generally DG ECO, to try to really make sure that to all possible extent, new ideas are used. I give you one small example. It's the use of drones in civil protection. So we have several projects that are focusing on this, and you can imagine how useful it can be to have a drone in order to witness, to see, to oversee a situation of crisis. That's one use. There are others, but that is less risky and less costly than using an helicopter. So you can imagine how much can be done if we use smartly the innovations that are available. I would like to finish with reflecting a little bit on citizens' risk awareness. Just to flag, and there I invite you to have a look simply at the website of DG ECO, that just a few weeks ago there was a recent Eurobarometer that was published, that was made on quite a significant segment of the European population. It was dedicated to disaster risk awareness and preparedness. Almost 2/3 of the citizens believe that they need more information. And other figures are equally interesting and I would say worrying, and are a clear call for doing more. Half of the citizens don't know what to do. Half of the citizens want to know more. At the same time, there are very positive figures in this Eurobarometer as well. The sense that, for instance, many citizens have trust in the authorities of civil protection, which is positive because trust in crisis situation is absolutely critical. But indeed, it's really a call for doing more at every level, local, regional, national, and EU level, as you were also referring to earlier. And of course, as I said earlier, at the beginning of my intervention, both the Ninisto report on the mission letter of the Commissioner-designate Labib call for doing more in terms of citizens' preparedness and awareness. And I will stop with this, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for sharing the perspective of DG ECO. Thank you very much. And it's so important to get everyone to be on the same floor about risk management. So thank you very much. And before moving forward to the event, I would like to say that if you want to listen this event in your language, you can scan a QR code that is going to be shown now. You can scan the QR, set the language, connect your headphones, and then enjoy this. Okay, let's move forward. Now we will be delighted with the presentation of Delia Visignore. She is Program Manager, Unit D2 of Interreg Cross-Border Cooperation International Borders in DG Regio. Please, I give you the floor.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. It is a pleasure to be here, so thank you for the invitation. Before starting my presentation, I would like to express our solidarity to the people of Valencia for being affected of the severe floods. Today, I will walk you through what cohesion policy and in particular Interreg does for disaster risk management. I will try to change the slide from here. Cohesion policy is the largest EU funding source for disaster risk management and civil protection. It supports disaster risk management to its policy objective 2 for a greener low carbon Europe, and specifically through its specific objective 2.4. The allocation to this field amounts for the 2021-2027 programming period to 14 billion. And we have observed an increase of 75% of funding compared to the previous programming period, which is the 2014-2020. The support focuses on floods and fire risks, prioritizing ecosystem-based approaches, but a part of the fund is also linked to non-climate related natural risks and man-made risks such as earthquakes or technological accidents. The investments are concentrated on those regions that are more at risk, such as Eastern and Southern EU. The funds are distributed through what we call regional programs and also cooperation programs. I will now explain briefly what Interreg is and what we do to support disaster risk management across borders. So we will be in a cooperation framework. European territorial cooperation, also called Interreg, is one of the two objectives of cohesion policy and aims at strengthening cooperation between EU regions. And this is to enhance European integration and cohesion, Together with the member states under shared management, we implement 86 of such Interreg programs at different levels, across border level, as you can see in the slide, which means between border regions of neighboring countries, at transnational level and in bigger cooperation areas, such as, for instance, the Danube River, and at interregional level, so between EU regions, notwithstanding necessarily their geographical location. The budget allocated to Interreg for the 21-27 programming period amounts to 10 billion ERDF. Of course, Interreg contributes to all the objectives of cohesion policy, but I wanted to highlight what we do specifically for climate change adaptation and risk management. What we can observe from the investments made through Interreg is that investments related to greener Europe, so our policy objective 2, are prominent, since issues such as climate change, but also river basin management or natural disasters do not stop at national borders. If you imagine, for instance, the already cited border between Spain and Portugal, which is characterized by different forests and Natura 2000 sites, if a fire happens at that border, it will not surely stop at the border, and hence calls for joint disaster risk management in all its phases, so from prevention to preparedness to response. From 2021 to 2027, Interreg will invest 1.2 billion euros of ERDF in joint projects, in fact, for climate change adaptation, including for disaster risk management. This can include measures such as the prevention or management of floods, landslides, fires, as you can see in the intervention fields in the slide, but also actions such as joint exercises, for instance, and training of emergency services units, as well as engagement of civil society into civil protection. We do not only contribute to cross-border cooperation through Interreg funding, we also develop other activities that are needed to enhance cross-border cooperation between EU member states. And in this realm, we did recently conduct a study together with our colleagues of DG ECHO and also with the help of Technopolis Group on strengthening the resilience of EU border regions. This study really aims at strengthening capacities for disaster risk management in cross-border areas, and this was done by identifying the risks that cross-border territories face and what are the tools and agreements, but also institutional processes that are available to manage those risks. And as such, identify what are the gaps in governance and in readiness to jointly prevent and react to disasters. The geographical scope of this study was quite broad. As you can see in the slide, we mapped 53 borders, 43 EU internal land borders, 4 maritime borders, and 6 borders with candidate countries. And we took into account 12 types of risks, providing an overview of what are the risks, both natural and man-made, in each cross-border territory. This is something that I hope will be of use for all of you that are following this conference, because as a part of the study, we also developed border fishes and maps per each border area mapped. In the border fishes, you will find an overall review of risks, but also the discrepancy in risk assessment that has been observed in between one side of the border and the other. What are the exposures and vulnerabilities of the territory and their potential impact? And as such, what are the tools available to local authorities to react to such risks, and what are the gaps? Based on all this information, also recommendations on how to enhance cross-border cooperation in disaster risk management are provided, and they are tailor-made to each border area. And also, we did develop 10 case studies, which have a collection of good practices for cross-border cooperation that can be hopefully of inspiration for other EU territories, which I invite you to consult. You will have all the relevant links to these publications in the slides. But now let's go a bit to the key findings of this study. The study identified the 339 legal and governance tools to address already existing, to address the 12 types of risks taken into account in the context of this study. We also identified 268 agreements, of which the majority of them is bilateral, while a part of them is multilateral. And as we can see from this, as we can observe from the graph, more than half of these agreements identified are multi-risks, while we identified way less agreements in specific risks, as it can be the case for animal and plant diseases, but also terrorism, drought, and epidemics and pandemics. Of course, there is generally a direct correlation between the severity of the risks and the availability of agreements in each specific border. And also, depending on the legal system of the countries concerned, we can observe that the number and nature of such agreement varies. For example, what we identified is that there are some borders that are rich in bilateral agreements, such as it is the case for the borders of Austria, or also the border between Italy and France, or Spain and Portugal, while there are other border areas that lack of agreements for managing risks jointly, such as the case of Lithuania. In any case, notwithstanding the different approaches to disaster risk management, what is evident is that bilateral or multilateral agreements are really valuable tools for enhancing cross-border cooperation in disaster risk management. Unfortunately, I will not have enough time to walk you through all the outcomes of the study, but I wanted to give you some key takeaways, mostly to reflect on what we can do best in the future at the level of governance. From the study, of course, what emerges was that approaches to disaster risk management vary widely across countries, both in terms of risks, of course, and of disaster risk management capability assessments, achieving different levels of performance. In some borders, we even observed discrepancies in the assessment of risk exposure in between one side of the border and the other, which leads to different preparedness and response capacity. This highlights the importance of common risk assessments in cross-border areas, and also more extensive and comprehensive guidance on how to develop such a cross-border level. Also, the lack of understanding of the legal framework in the neighboring countries is a hindrance to effective and efficient cross-border cooperation. Therefore, it is essential to map and understand better what is the legislation and the administrative framework and arrangements on the other side of the border in order to be able to actually prevent, prepare, and react jointly to disasters. And hence, we believe that local and regional governments should formalize mutual aid agreements with their counterparts across borders. Now we will go a bit more into multi-level governance. The roles and responsibilities of local governments in the context of cross-border disaster risk management could be better defined and strengthened. There is a need for ongoing training to enhance their cooperation and collaboration capacities. And national governments and regional governments can play really a vital role to support disaster risk management at local level. Their support may include, for instance, financial assistance, but also technical expertise and policy guidance. Moreover, what the study highlighted is that there is a need to strike the right balance between providing bottom-up incentives for cross-border cooperation and disaster risk management, but also strengthen the national level in order to provide better coordination. As we all know for sure, establishing mechanisms for cross-border data sharing and information exchange is critical for timely decision-making during disasters. In some cases, what we noticed is that the availability of data and information across borders was insufficient, and hence we would encourage local and regional governments to make sure that data is always accessible and usable. And at this point in time, what's very evident is that there is a need to strengthen cross-border cooperation, but also teams, mechanisms, and exercises to make sure that at local level there is a good level of readiness to jointly act in cases of disasters. In this case, for instance, regional and cross-border disaster risk management networks can provide valuable opportunities to exchange on good practices, but also to create partnerships and share lessons learned on common challenges. Lastly, the RDF and Interreg are the main funding instruments for cross-border cooperation and disaster risk management, and their added value, of course, remains undisputed. However, if mechanisms for sustained interaction across borders are not established, then the efforts tend to vanish when the project or the initiative, or in any case, the funding ends. I would like to call on a last note your attention to a call for pilots that we recently published. The deadline for application is 30th of November, and it is divided into 2 lots. There will be 10 pilots on cross-border crisis management and 10 pilots on spatial planning, which will receive a grant budget of up to 40,000 euros. I left the link also in the slides, and I invite you to consult it. Here are the useful links, and I thank you very much for your attention.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dalia, for sharing with us about Interreg program and the cooperation tools. Now, let's move forward with Andries Greifroy. Just to refresh, he is second vice president of the Commission for Environment, Climate Change and Energy in the Committee of the Regions. He's online and now he's available.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much to give me the opportunity. I suppose that you have my PowerPoint, or I have to share it?
Yes, we can share it.
It's the same.
Yes, just a second. Okay, here we go.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, this one. Okay, thank you. And thank you also very much to at least speak about what happens in Spain, because it's very important that we can all express our big solidarity and our support for what happens over there in Valencia and other regions in Spain. What we have seen now is that the increasing frequency and intensity of these extreme events, and it's not only, let us say, the water floods, but also the water droughts or the droughts, the fires, this pose significant challenges to all levels of governance, not only the local levels, but the regional levels, national levels, European level. It's not anymore just a local issue. It's an European and even global one. And this required coordinated efforts across borders and sectors. And I mentioned also, and I want to emphasize, across borders. They want to bring our perspective to risk management as member of the Flemish Parliament, and as been said, as member of the European Committee of the Region. I will mention a few examples of good practices and policies that we have already done here in Flanders with the Flemish Adaptation Plan, the Blue Deal, the Green Deal, etc. Next slide, please. There has already been spoken why it is so important, and it's a part of the European Green Deal to be climate resilient by 2050. And what we see now is that we have to adapt our plans smarter and faster and more integrated. That's a problem that we see. We have also, Germany was mentioned, Austria, but we have in 2021 also our water bomb in southern part of Belgium. And this was about the same. It was about communication, plans which were not integrated in each other, etc. So we have to move, or we have to improve also all data that we have, the climate data and also the risk assessment. That's very important. Next slide. And therefore we have, and this is already discussed a little bit, therefore we have different topics on the European level. We have our the mission on climate adaptation, which is based on tailored solutions and discussing about access to funding. And it's also about knowledge sharing and collaboration, which is very important. What happens in Spain or in Austria and Germany, in fact, it's something which is very hopeful, but at least we have to learn about it and we have to look if we can collaborate. That's very important, that we have lessons learned. And of course, there are gaps in our climate adaptation across the EU. We see that, for example, member states face challenges in governance, face challenges in funding. They face also challenges in sometimes nature-based solutions. And von der Leyen was in that very clear. plans has to be coordinated with the subnational authorities, and that's very important. You cannot blame one level or one authority. You have to work together and to integrate all the forces that we have. Next slide. And we have our cohesion policy and solidarity fund, but I will not go here in detail because this is a fact already mentioned and discussed by the previous speaker. But what I want to say over here is that, as a conclusion, if I can say like that, for this cohesion and solidarity fund, is that we have to remember that investing in preventive measures is much more cost effective than rebuilding after a disaster. So that's the reason why, if you're now a denier of climate change or not a denier of climate change, what we see is that climate is changed. And so that we are now, with all these disasters, that we have to look if we can work together to prevent what's disasters instead of rebuild after a disaster. Next slide. So now I want to focus on, well, let us say how we try to do it in Flanders. I don't say, and I don't want to be saying like, well, what we do in Flanders is the best. No, I don't want to say that, but at least we tried things because we had also problems in the past. Certainly about drought. We have 2-3 summers where there was a lot of problem of lack of water. Then we have floodings. Fortunately, we have no fire or earthquakes, etc. But at least droughts and floods are a main topic by us. So we started with the Flanders Climate Adaptation Plan, and it's in fact a model of regional policy aligned with the European directives and addressed with local needs. This is very strong in our governance. The strategy incorporates innovative measures such as advanced climate modeling and predictive analytics to mitigate risk related to climate change. We make use of digital platforms to obtain real-time data and analysis. Digital platforms enhance our predictive capabilities, enabling more informed decision-making and swift responses to emerging risks. And we have focused that on 6 topics. We have the infrastructure, the green and the blue infrastructure, where we sometimes look also, we call that give water space. Sometimes you have to buy agriculture ground surfaces by the government to let it be used if there's a flooding to capture water. It's also, the second topic is about water availability and water usage. So we have a huge plan concerning reduced water consumption. It's create space for water, like I mentioned, necessity to create space where water can infiltrate the soil and be stored. So it's not only be stored, but also infiltrate in the soil. And then, that's what we also try to do, be used to tackle drought periods by collecting them. The fourth topic is restoration and climate resilient management of nature, forests and open spaces. Hydrological restoration program for valleys and natural wetlands. Expanding forest surfaces, implement climate intelligent agriculture. The fifth topic is about health policy to identify all climate related health changes. And the last one is the collaboration and coordination between the Flemish, the local level, the federal level, and European public authorities on climate adaptation measures. And all these topics are integrated in one Flemish adaptation plan and could and should then serve as an inspiration for the upcoming European climate adaptation plan, and could be, in my opinion, also serve as an inspiration for other regions. The other topic that we have, the other thing that we have done, we call that the Flemish Blue Deal. Next slide. No, this one, it's okay. The Blue Deal is another pivotal program focused on water management. By integrating the state-of-the-art technology for water monitoring and management, we have improved our ability to handle both droughts and floods. With smart sensors and devices deployed across critical points, provide real-time data, ensuring efficient resource allocation and crisis management. And the Blue Deal encourages actors to roll out innovative partnerships, test new technologies, and get more people on board. It contains more than 70 ambitious actions divided in 4 main domains. The first one is investments in the field by, for example, restoring wetlands, by, for example, depriving for more water infiltration. The second one is concerning regulation and implementation, for example, reuse all types of water, improving local rainwater and drought plans. The third domain is innovation research and monitoring. And the last one is awareness raising, because this is also sometimes very important. You have to sometimes to educate people. And we are in fact quite proud that this Flemish Blue Deal has been the source of inspiration to both Economic and Social Committee and the Committee of the Regions that have called for an EU Blue Deal and appealed to the new Commission to prioritize water management. In this regard, we also welcome the announcement and the speech of von der Leyen's political guidelines of a European water resilience. And among the different key messages, we have already done some opinions within the Committee of the Regions. For example, we have the opinion creating an EU Blue Deal from an agriculture and rural development perspective across EU regions with Rapporteur Carvalhoa. And the other one was towards a resilient water management to fight climate crisis within an EU Blue Deal. Next slide, please. So besides this adaptation plan and besides this Blue Deal, we have also our innovation, which is used in the climate and energy. In the Flanders, we have harnessed innovation to address climate and energy challenges or investment in renewable energy technologies, such as wind and solar power.
Okay, it's freezed. No? Okay, he lost the... Oh.
Yeah, you have lost something, I think.
Yeah, we lost you, but just 2 minutes.
Yeah, okay. So the third part, besides the Flanders Climate Adaptation Plan, the Blue Deal, is the innovation which is used in the climate and energy. Investment in renewable energy is not only about a wind turbine and a normal solar panel, but it's also about smart grids, energy management, energy communities, etc. So that's very important. It's also about the Moonshot Flanders, which is concerning hydrogen. We have also restarted our Flanders Technology and Innovation, where we not only expose what we can do, but it's also a platform for education for students, but also a platform for education for the citizens. And we have a resilient fund, which is about 1.6 billion euros, basically for saving energy, reduce emissions, and tackle also the water problem. Next slide. The fourth topic that we are very concerned about is digitalization and big data, because this is a cornerstone of our risk management strategy. And by leveraging big data and artificial intelligence, we have developed sophisticated models for disaster prediction and resource management. And this technology enables us to anticipate and mitigate risk more effectively, safeguarding both our environment and our citizens. And we have made then two, let us say, policy plans, one on the artificial intelligence and one on the cybersecurity. The cybersecurity is more to protect everything what we have on a digital way, because this can be a weakness. And if you talk about artificial intelligence, it's more to learn, or let us say that on a digital way, we can learn based on all the data that we capture. Next slide. So before I give you a conclusion, what I've already heard and what I want to add here is education is very important. Awareness, capacity building. But this starts already in the schools. This starts when you're young. This starts then also for the people at university, or when you're working in factories or etc. Doesn't mind, but people have to be aware and be educated. And we have to be prepared and train ourselves to involve everyone. And also important, disaster doesn't stop at the border, but solutions also doesn't stop at the border of a region. So cooperation with different regions is very important. In conclusion, robust risk management policies at all levels of governance are essential to tackle climate-related risk and improve energy efficiency. And this requires a blend of innovation, digitalization, strategic collaboration. And by integrating modern technologies and fostering multi-level governance, we can build a resilient framework capable of addressing current challenges and increasing climate-related risks. We have to focus more attention on prevention, building up digital technologies, and at the same time protecting our infrastructure, natural and general infrastructure from cyber threats. All together, so we can build a safer, more resilient future for our region and beyond. And let's hope that Valencia never comes back in the news like we have seen the last week. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your valuable insights. Thank you. And now we will talk with Miriam Alba-Reina. She's Disaster Management Officer at the Red Cross in the EU. So you are welcome to present.
Thank you very much, Paulina. Just waiting for my presentation. Take your time. Well, in the meantime, I think I can introduce myself, although she did it perfectly already. My name is Miriam Alba. I work for the Red Cross EU office, which is a membership organization that sits right across the road. So we're based in Brussels. And we're the representation of the 27 national societies. So with national societies, I mean the Red Cross. Thank you. The Red Crosses that you might remember back home. And in addition to this, we also represent the International Federation of the Red Cross, the Norwegian Red Cross, and the Icelandic Red Cross. So we have a little bit of a broader approach. What we do exactly is that we make sure that every conversation that takes place in Brussels, so we do our best to follow all of that. We translate and we impact that to our focal points in the different elements of the membership, so back home at the national level. And we also have a certain degree of influence, or we aim at that specifically because we hold very strongly to what we call humanitarian diplomacy. All in all, it means that we try to empower the different actors to do the advocacy themselves. One of the main reasons is basically because, as we were mentioning before, civil protection is a competence of the member states. So the real impact is not only done at the domestic level, but also at the community one for many, many reasons, including the one that other speakers mentioned before on how we need to take communities and citizens at the very center. Having said that, I'm here not on an operational perspective, even though I'm going to build on what colleagues have been doing at the national level, but more on a bringing the perspective of someone that has worked and has been exposed to operations without holding a representative capacity. And I'm saying that because very rightly, Valencia has been mentioned before, and I'm happy to engage with these conversations, but normally we need the specific green light from the Spanish Red Cross. We have not had at the moment because they are busy with a specific emergency. So I'm happy to share comments with a little disclaimer at the very beginning that it's going to be only a personal capacity of someone that has been equipped with the experience that they've shared, but not, let's say, Spanish Red Cross statement as such. Having said that, I wanted to introduce exactly what do we do, or what specifically why we can consider ourselves a civil protection actor. And in order to understand that, we're gonna need to talk about different levels. As we said at the very beginning, the cross-border element is very, very relevant. And what we do is specifically at two different levels. On the one hand, at the EU one, we're very connected with the state protection authorities in capital. And as Mr. Earl will mention at the very beginning, through the Federation, we have the capacity to activate the mechanism to request assistance. This is something that we haven't done so far, but we have the possibility to do so. We're closely related. Actually, we have a memorandum of understanding that allows us to keep the cooperation going, being the information management and the info sharing one of the aspects that we have strengthen our cooperation on. On the one hand, at the national level, we're very much in contact with the civil protection authorities. And I'm saying that to highlight something that I'm pretty happy my team's going to be happy to hear, which is the auxiliary role. The auxiliary role means that basically the different national societies back home are supporting exactly are supporting the role of the work that they have back home. With Mr. Erwell, we were saying at the very beginning that the EU has also supporting competence. Whatever they have, it's at the discretion of the national authorities. We sort of have a similar understandings to unpack that for you. And but the cooperation is very, very close, and that's exactly why we highlight that we're not an NGO as such. We're an organization that tries to that aims to preserve the humanitarian principles while supporting the effective systems that have been put into place. As we were saying at the beginning, that's why we're considered a state protection actor at the EU level, with one of the areas of cooperation, including in the air bridge, and more specifically with the EHRC, which is another area of our work. And one of the reasons why I wanted to, and I find timely the intervention that I want to put on the table at the Red Cross, is that I want to step back and say that from the decision maker's perspective, there has been an overall an agreement, right? When we talk about disasters, when we mention, we have a core scientific approach to it. We define them as a driver for disasters. We need to reduce the exposure of the population. We need to make sure that everybody has an early warning and early action. All in all, we have three key, let's say, go-to points that everybody agrees on. On the one hand, we say that we can prioritize the analysis. At the very beginning, we were saying we had in Valencia one specific activation of Copernicus. We all agree how important it is to have a satellite imagery, one specific data that we can rely on, and that can be made accessible to everybody. On the one hand, we also understand that we need to have the public awareness of all of this. We need to not only the capacity for citizens to know what to do, but also not only to have the early warning, but also to be able to enable an early action. It doesn't give you anything if you talk about floods, but you don't know where the floods are coming, what is the population that is being affected, on how to react, on how to support. As a third point, there is also a need to create an awareness in action, not only in the decision maker's perspective, but also at the community level. At the end of the day, something that we claim is that we don't need to arrive anywhere because we're there already. If we're able to connect our decision making and our coordination with citizens as such, we don't need to have a fast deployment because we have been there already. It doesn't prevent, of course, that this population needs some direction and of course, an extreme support. But is there something that we can do to prevent? But all in all, in these 3 points, we all agree. So we talk about analysis, informing decisions, and awareness into action. Now, let's talk about how. Because it's here where the conversation gets a little bit more juicy. On the one hand, from something that was mentioned at the very beginning, is that risks are not new. What is actually new is the way we approach them and the impact they're having in our societies. In order to do so, there was one Red Cross publication that was called Red Alert, that was discussing about all these risks already and came up with 10 different takeaway messages. Here I'm gonna duplicate what my other panelists did. I'm not gonna give you the takeaway and the recommendation through the entire publication. I'll rather share it with you and invite you to read it. But something that I would like you to remember when you walk out this room would be these 3 pillars or these 3 points to consider. The first one is how the early warning system needs to be focused at the people. And at the people, we at the citizens, we need to differentiate people that are at higher risk because they are in isolated areas that have difficult access. We need to take into consideration people that have a certain degree of disability. And ultimately, we need to take into consideration everybody that is part of the community, regardless of their condition. In order to do so, we also need to have a bottom-up management when it comes to transboundary risks. And it's a very difficult conversation. And with other panelists, we've been talking about different borders at the national level. But something that we're seeing with the crisis in Valencia is that we also have supranational borders, we like it or not. In order to do so, in order to liaise and to create a bridge between the two, we might be building into volunteer networks and into the communities and to the bottom-up approach that allows us to coordinate. And in order to do that, you need to enable the capability of the citizens, and you need to create a society of resilience that, as again was mentioned before, is something that is at the core of the Ninisto report and at the EU strategy that is going to be building on. For the anecdote, we're also building and working on how to provide our own contribution to this strategy. More specifically, there is one element on behavioral dimension that is a contribution from the Climate Center of the Red Cross together with the World Bank and the JRC. And is being a very much a primer of how we can approach the topic, but is just to give you a taste of how this behavioral dimension has been under the radar of not only the Red Cross but also the European Commission for a long time, and that what is happening in Valencia is just the confirmation and to illustrate exactly what we're trying to work towards. And the third takeaway message that I would like you to take is exactly the legal preparedness and how important it is to do not only allow for support when it comes to the community itself and to the rescuers and the people that are going to be supporting, but also enable a governance that allow for it. In Europe, when it comes to intra-EU disasters, we have a very particular system. We have Schengen, we have the single market that allows for free circulation of materials and to some extent to the population. But we need to take into consideration that for certain materials, and when it comes to UCPM, for participating states, that's not necessarily the case. And it's very, very important to just, again, work at the capital level, because it is with them, it is with the specific legislation at the domestic level that we can really have an impact. And on this, I'm going to build on Delia's presentation before, because I particularly like the one she highlighted, how many projects have been working with interregions and specifically the ones that are including the cross-border element through the UCPM, because it's something that is objectively impactful, and it's something that we definitely are going to have into the radar. So as a conclusion, and just to bring you my closing remarks, ideally, we are going to be talking about capacity building, not only from a disaster management narrative, but for a disaster risk management narrative. That means that the focus is no longer on the response. We're going to be having a lot more on prevention and preparedness. We're going to need to enable the actors that have something to do, and we need to widen this definition of actors. In the Union Disaster Resilience Goal, something that was rightfully done is that to understand exactly who is a stakeholder, who's going to be the one that we want to bring around the table to have this conversation. Citizens was one of them, but you also need some certain degree of organization when it comes to all the citizens. Again, we've seen that with Valencia, with all the spontaneous volunteers. People and our communities have this sense of urgency when they are saying their need was being affected, and we need to do that in a coordinating way so that the funding and the elements that are being given by the community have the most impactful and efficient results. Thank you very much. It was very, very interesting to listen to other speakers' intervention, and I hope we can steer the conversation later on, and happy to receive your questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It was an incredible presentation, and the insights were really enrichful. Okay, now continuing with non-profit organizations' action in this fight, I would like to give the floor to Demetrio Romero. He's Human Rights Advisor at the Human Rights Defender Program and EU Advocacy in the International Human Rights Network Europe. So, please.
Thank you so much. First of all, in the name of my... Thank you. first of all, in the name of my organization, the International Human Rights Network Europe, I want to thank I want to thank the Finova Foundation for the kind invitation to this conference. So very appreciated. So I'm Demetrio Romeo, and I'm glad to be here representing RIDE in my capacity of responsible for the Social Innovation Laboratories Network program. Yes, so there's a little problem with my presentation. Okay. So anyway, that's not a problem. So RIDA is a network of social organization and university between the European Union, Latin America, and the Caribbean. We were born with the purpose to strengthen the capacity of actors involved in the protection and promotion of human rights. In particular, we work with the vision that human rights defenders and social organizations can access education and training programs to innovate their internal practices in the design of advocacy plans. Yeah, thank you. Now look at the context. We work in close connection with human rights defenders and social organizations based in Latin America and the Caribbean. So the situation we are profoundly concerned about the situation of human rights defenders in Latin America. Latin America turned to the most dangerous region where those defending human rights are suffering threats, harassments, and attacks. So our priority is to strengthen the capacity of this organization to address these risks and to build stronger alliances to improve their capacities. So in this regard, we decided to innovate for advocacy and security thanks to the Social Innovation Laboratories Network. This is a training program aimed at supporting citizen participation by human rights defenders and strengthening civil society organizations from Latin America in their work of defense, promoting the exercise of human rights in the pursuit of solutions to public issues. In particular, the Lab in CIDE initiative stands up as an experimental learning and space for advocacy plans. This initiative consists in a cycle of lessons and workshops on human rights and advocacy co-developed by social leaders with the support of human rights professionals and action tools. So by means of the social innovation activities applied on the work of defense by human rights defenders and the civil society in a context of general violence and impunity, we promote professionalization in the social sector, the development of alliance and implementation of strategic campaigns with the hope of creating a positive impact on global policy and contributing to a more just and equitable world. So a few words on the context of Latin America, because it's so interesting to understand why this happens in this region. So due to the combination of the degradation of the legal system and context, a widespread context of general violence, so we usually monitored several human rights violations against the work of defense of human rights. So it's so important because the deterioration of human rights work is one of the causes of the lack of judicial guarantees and the restriction of civic space in these countries. So we want to encourage civil society to move in a safe space and to get their results in terms of political and social impact. So that is in coherent with the Sustainable Development Goals, in particular the goal 17. So our activity is totally in direction of a improve the guarantees of people working in human rights in the region. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Demetrio. Your insights about human rights when it comes to natural disaster was so important, and also to look abroad Europe. Finally, I would like to introduce Juan Camaño Ascarate. He's online. He's responsible of operative and capacity from Pau Costa Foundation, so he can explain us about his work, and I give you the floor.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay,
Perfectly.
great. So let me introduce a little bit the organizations that I work for, and afterwards I can explain a little bit more things regarding forest fires, emergencies. But in any case, let me share my screen so I can present you a little bit the different actions that we do in Pau Costa Foundation, where I work. Let me share my screen. Okay. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to share my screen. Oh yeah, there it is. Okay,
Perfect. We can see, but maybe you can do it like in full screen.
Presentation. Yeah, presentation mode. Okay, so basically, well, first of all, introduce myself. My name is Juan Camaño. I'm from Spain. I'm a forestry engineer, but I'm specialized on forest fire emergencies. So I'm involved in projects on prevention and also on response. Okay, but I'm working at the moment in Pau Costa Foundation, and I'm responsible of the training and operation area. But I would like to introduce you a little bit the foundation that I work for at the moment. So basically, Pau Costa Foundation is a nonprofit organization. Obviously, it's focused on wildfire management and prevention with this perspective of fire ecology. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the concept of fire ecology or the science of fire ecology, but basically fire ecology is the science that studies the relationship between the ecosystems and the fire in those ecosystems, because we found out years ago that there's a relationship and there's some ecosystems that need some fire to maintain biodiversity in those ecosystems, especially Mediterranean ecosystems, things like that. So we focus on wildfire management, having in mind the fire ecology science. So in 2011, we found Pau Costa Foundation with the aim of building this platform to share knowledge and experience around forest fire management. And it is interesting to know that Pau Costa Foundation, the idea of founding Pau Costa Foundation came through a European Commission project that was funded by the European Commission called Fire Paradox. That project, Fire Paradox, gathered a lot of researchers, operational people from different firefighting organizations. And once that project ended, all those people decided to maintain the network alive, and the way to maintain that network alive was by founding Pau Costa Foundation. So that's basically the reason why we found it, because we thought that it was crucial to maintain the network, and it was crucial to build a platform to share knowledge and experience around forest fire management at different levels, like prevention, response, preparedness that you have talked about, and everything. So basically what we do is connect people. We keep the network alive by doing projects and different actions to maintain, as I said, to share knowledge and experience around forest fire management. What are the actions that we developed? So PCF lines of actions. So basically, one of the things is prevention, obviously, because we have found out that responding is not the solution for mitigating the emergency problems that we're facing. Respond is responding to the problem, but it's not facing the problem directly, and that has to be done through prevention. So basically, what we do is promote resilient landscape, meaning that we try to promote landscapes that where forest fires cannot grow as big as it does in the recent years. Basically, as you might be aware, 50 years ago in my country, in Spain, we didn't have this type of fires that we were seeing every summer. Same thing in Portugal, and that's the reason is because the landscape has changed, because society has changed. So now we're promoting different actions to build again this resilient landscape as it was before. Maybe not as it was before, but trying to promote different actions to have this landscape that where big wildfires cannot grow. So, and one of the main projects that we have is education to younger people, because when I was born, I lived while I was growing up, I lived with this idea that fire was a bad thing in our forest. But now we understand that there's good fires and bad fires. So now what we're doing is through different workshops and in schools, we teach the younger generations that fire is something that it's needed in the landscape, and that we have good fires and bad fires. So we're changing the paradigm about bad fires that I grew up with, and everybody I think has grown up that fire is a bad thing, and we have to get rid of it. And it's impossible to get rid of fires in ecosystems like Mediterranean region. Another actions that we have obviously is we research and development, and we do this a lot through different calls under the European Commission, so DG Eco calls and Interreg calls and everything. So we are part of different consortiums where we are working in different projects and research and training projects all around risk awareness or improving and enhance interoperability among firefighters. So we have worked in many projects funded by the European Commission in the last 10 years, and right now we're working in many of them. So we are part of this, and we do a lot of research and development and innovation projects, thanks to the funding that we receive from the different calls from the European Commission. And another of the lines of action that we have is the one that I'm leading at the moment, is knowledge exchange training and operations. So as you have seen in Valencia, an emergency so complex as what they're facing, the firefighters, it is obviously that we need a common training and a common framework so we can understand each other when we are working together in that type of environment, international environments. So basically what we do is design international projects where we exchange procedures, standard operation procedures, and ways to approach, in this case, forest fires, obviously, like coordination instructors, command and control instructors, and standard operation procedures, so we can understand each other. So something similar as what United Nations has for user teams like INSARAC, and that's what we're aiming for, building this common framework so we can work together and understand forest fire emergency the same way as we understand it in Spain, in Portugal, in Italy, in many Mediterranean countries that face forest fires every year. So yeah, basically this is what we do. I mean, we do many more things, but I don't want to just talk to you about it. But if anybody has any questions regarding our job and how we do, or how we see forest fires emergencies and prevention and preparedness, I will be more than happy to respond to them.
Thank you very much, Juan. Thank you for sharing your insights, and fire prevention and response is also an important topic to put on the table. So thank you very much. Thank you all of you for sharing your thoughts and experiences. Now I would like to hear questions from our audience, so feel free to press the microphone button if you would like to jump in with a question or comment or thoughts. Now it's your moment. Okay, no, so shy, no questions, no worries. So thank you very much to all the panelists. Now let's get a closer look to Setoff project and its contribution to security innovation. I'm pleased to introduce Juan Viesca, Director of European Funds at Finova Foundation, who is going to give us an overview of Setoff future milestone and its anticipated impact on European security. So I give you the floor.
So thank you very much. I'm just going to say hello to all the people. Normally I start my presentation with good afternoon, but I don't know if this is a good afternoon. Normally I work in Brussels. Now I'm based in Valencia. I am making this presentation at home. I am quite safe, but I'm 100 meters away from the old bed of the River Turia that in 1957 destroyed and flooded completely the city of Valencia. In 1968, I think the government decided to build a new river, a new artificial river, 3 kilometers away from here, that in this particular case saved all the city of Valencia. But at the right part of the river, we are on the ground zero that the situation nowadays is completely, they are completely devastated, and it's a very, very hard situation. So for me, it's going to be difficult today to make this presentation about natural risk, about the project, because the situation here in Valencia has affected to thousands of people, thousands of houses, and well, this is what we are living here in Valencia. I've spent the weekend helping in the city of Benetússer to clean on helping people, and also some NGOs trying to support them in logistics during the weekend. And well, let's see how the things are going on. Anyway, I'm going to explain you more or less something that nowadays, today, I think that is quite important due to the situation, the Setoff project. Okay, first of all, I have to tell you that the Setoff project is an Erasmus project. Perhaps some one of you are quite used to participate in this program, but most of the people that are listening to this seminar or training session thinks about Erasmus as a mobility program for students. Okay, and Erasmus is the second program managed by the European Commission with more funds for different actions: training, education, mobility, sport. Okay, and it's a huge program. And this program has main three actions. The key action one, that is only for mobility, the whole mobility that we know. We've got the key action 3 that is mainly for the regional, for the governments, for development and implementation of policies. And we've got the key action 2 that is a part of the program related to the implementation of innovation action, training action, pilot actions regarding training. Okay? So this key action 2 normally is divided into two big parts also at the same time. There are different actions. There is a part that we call a centralized management that is managed by the European Education and Executive Agency of the European Commission, is directly managed by the European Commission, and as the program is very high, very large, all the countries participate managing the programs through national agencies. Okay, so in this particular case of the Setoff project, we are on a project managed by the Greek National Agency. Okay, so this is important to say where we are in this huge program called Erasmus program. So Setoff project is a smart education and training program for central, regional, and local government servants. It's a training program focused on public civil servants of administrations. These are the main target groups of the program. The title of the program is Embrace Vulnerability as Our Greatest Strength and Innovation Tools for Risk Management. Okay? The main objective of the program is to improve, and this is the key question of the program, improve the preparedness and occupational safety. Preparedness, how we are prepared to respond to this kind of events in the regions and in the countries participating in the program. Okay? Both public and private civil protection personnel against future crises and emergencies by developing an innovative online training that will be presented in a few moments by my colleague Eduardo Mercado. Okay? There will be a curriculum based on proven and successfully implemented simulation model combined with the latest scientific knowledge developed by the universities involved in this program. Okay, but mainly Setoff project. What we're going to do is to develop an e-training program. Okay, curriculum based mainly on real needs. Okay, and focusing these important target groups of the project: civil servants of the administration, okay, civil protection and private sector safety and security training personnel. This is more or less the main objective of the program. At the same time, we had foreseen different objectives, activities, or outcomes and results. We have prepared an e-learning and educational platform, particularly for this project. It has been developed by one of the partners with taking into account trying to avoid cyber security attacks to the platform. It's a particular and a tool developed just for the project. In some cases, for example, Finova, we develop training activities and we use platforms that are open for all the people, or you just pay for the use of the platform. But in this case, we decided to create a particular platform for us just to protect in case of cybersecurity attacks to the system. Inside this educational platform, we had implemented an e-training different modules in different languages, in the language of the partners of the project, and also in English. Just Eduardo Mercado will explain them, but with key aspects of natural risk, let's say, problems that came in the future. Okay. Also, we have developed online technologies to bring closer face-to-face training. We have developed also a service for skill retention. Okay. We want also, and this is quite important, to provide visibility to European Union innovative and effective disaster management practices, exchanges of good practices to see, for example, today, the way I think that our colleague Andres had presented different system and management practice in Flanders. Also, another objective is to certify the training that we have implemented with the European Credit System for Vocational Education and Training, the ECVET. That is a system similar to the ECTS, that's all the people knows, for higher education, but in this case, for vocational education and training. All this training that we're going to show you in a few minutes are certified by this system of ECVET. That I think this is quite important, taking into account that there will be civil servants, civil functionaries having and taking this training. You have to recognize your training periods during your career. Another objective is to provide a high quality, innovative, flexible training curricula for civil protection. Also, digitalization of all the training, I think, is another important matter for this project, and to show to vet providers about this offer of online training that we are preparing, that is going to be another success of the project. Okay. Well, these are more or less the main objectives of the project. Here are the partners of the project. As you can see, the leader is the Dimokritio Panepistimio Trakis University. This is the new name of the university. The old name was International Hellenic University. They changed the name of the leader during the life of the program. There are other partners in Greece. Sustainable City is a network of sustainable cities in Greece, in the Mediterranean area. This is quite important because Greece, as you know, the natural disaster that normally happens on summer is a fires in all the regions. So this sustainable city network is participating in the program. ELINIAE, that is an institution for health and safety at workplaces. In Belgium, we've got two partners, Eurocore, that is a consulting firm, and Finnova, that is a foundation that we are in charge of promoting and trying to explain the results of the project, not only just in the participant regions all around Europe. In the Republic of North Macedonia, we've got the military academy General Mihailo Apostoliki in Skopje that deals, they are participating in a lot of European projects regarding preparedness and awareness of natural risk, and an organization that is in charge of cybersecurity. Okay, that is quite important. And in Spain, and I hope that we are having today representatives from the city of Benaguasil, the municipality of Benaguasil, a municipality that normally suffers a lot of floods during this period of September, October. They are going to give us the point of view of the representatives from the local police of the Benaguasil. Okay, so this is more or less the partners of the project. Is a small project, 400,000 euros, just to make a training program in a particular area of Europe, nearly the Mediterranean area. Okay. Well, here we can continue with the objectives. We have presented already the objectives and the training content that my colleague will present you. The main aspects of the training focus introduction to risk management processes, risk perception, risk communication, first aid, and weather phenomena, floods, fire, urban fire, wildfires, earthquake, volcanoes in Italy, industrial accidents, epidemics, security, health, and safety of first responders. These are the main training content of the program. And I just want to take your attention. This is the webpage of the program in the database of the Erasmus program. Here you can have all the information about the project. And as the project will be is near to the end, in this webpage you will find all the results of the project, because all the results are free for all the people, and they will be we will show the results and the training materials in this webpage at the end of the project. Okay, so this is quite an important part of of the project. This is the webpage of the Erasmus program, and all the materials will be freely here in this webpage. And I just take your attention that is, if you want, I invite all the people here today, this afternoon, to participate in this training program and these training materials. Okay? And also, finally, I just want to show you the webpage of the program. Here you've got deliverables. Here you've got the training area that will be shown in a few minutes. Here you've got news. Here you've got newsletters about the program and a lot of materials of conference, seminars, dissemination events about the program that I invite you to take a look to this program. Okay, but anyway, I mean, we are near the end of the program. I think that we have done, all the partners, all the stakeholders, a very good job, very good materials that are quite necessary nowadays. But we have seen that each part of, I mean, the partners of this project are mainly based in the Mediterranean, but each region in Europe, each region in the world has different programs or even similar programs, and we think that we can't stop here the project. I mean, taking into account that the situation in Valencia, and in other cities, regions in the world, we are thinking in what we can do about promoting, training, and as Andres mentioned, capacity building that not start in the universities or in the work, in our work. It has to start in schools. Awareness, preparedness. We have to start when the people is very, very, very young if we want to have success. Okay, so nowadays there are another possibilities from the European Union just to make innovation, for example, through the Horizon Europe program regarding firefighting, regarding floods, just innovation and research. We've got different possibilities of continuing with this project regarding natural risk with a life program. Other people here on the meeting talk about cooperation between regions, transborder cooperation with regions through Interreg programs, okay? There is a particular quite interesting program, is the structural funds. Some colleagues mentioned the ERDF. When I was in the Generalitat Valenciana many years ago, I managed the ERDF in the region, and the huge budget projects that has been financed by the region was driving beds of some rivers in some part of Valencia, very hard, very expensive infrastructure that has been financed by ERDF programs in the region. And nowadays, these days, in a future, perhaps the next week, there will be different call for proposals regarding capacity building for higher education and capacity building for beds to work with partners from all over the world. There are in Erasmus two topics. In this case, it's capacity building higher education, KA 211, and regions Latin America, Africa, Mediterranean, Asia can participate in this kind of programs. Just trying to do capacity building in this case of natural risk. We are preparing some projects regarding these measures. We don't want to stop here. And there will be also at the same time capacity building in the field of vocational education and training, CVVET, Key Action 233. Just this particular measure is not only for universities, it's for other stakeholders, NGOs, other organizations. And in last summer, we prepared a project for firefighting in Latin America. The project has not been selected, but we want to try again this initiative because we think that it's quite important to develop activities regarding capacity building in the field of natural risk. We have to invest a lot just trying to avoid this situation. So thank you very much for your attention. And I think that my colleague Eduardo will present the platform, the training platform. Anyway, if you got questions, if you are interested in the NGOs, the organizations that are participation that are today in the ESC meeting room, or the people that is watching this presentation online, please do not hesitate to contact us in case you want to give continuity to this action that we are implementing of capacity building to other programs, or to make another initiative regarding natural risk and disaster in Europe. Thank you very much. And well, Eduardo, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Excuse me, Erwan Martin speaking from ECHO. No, thank you very much for this presentation. I found it very interesting, very stimulating also for plenty of issues, because there are quite some ideas and innovations. At the same time, I was wondering how much you were for all this in contact with civil protection authorities in the member states, and also with ECHO. Personally, I'm not aware, but you know, we are big organizations. Often we work in silos and we ignore what colleagues next door are doing. So it may very well happen. But just for my understanding, I just would like to understand how much these activities, these ambitious objectives also that you have presented, were done together with civil protection authorities. Thank you.
Yes, yes. Of course. We try to involve the civil security organizations in Europe. And I think that some months before, I think at the beginning of this year, we organized a study visit to the center responsible for disasters of the European Union. All the partners of the project, we went there, we have an exchanges of idea, we present the project, the European Union presented the center also to the partners of the project, and also we went to the NATO they had a coordination center also in case of catastrophe and disaster, and we had an exchange of experiences. And we were really surprised about all the things that the European Union were doing. And there we learned, and our project with Latin America came from a presentation of the European Commission, because Finnova works a lot in Latin America. We've got a desk in Chile, and Chile and Bolivia are suffering a lot of fires in the country, and we wanted to enlarge this project to Latin America, thanks to this presentation of the European Union. And we want to collaborate also, perhaps in the future, if we make sustainability of this project. We are going to be glad to collaborate with you in these programs. Thank you very much for the question.
Perfect. Thank you very much. It's clear now, no? Yeah. Okay. To have a bigger overview, Eduardo Mercado, Chief Technology Officer at Finnova Foundation, will provide insight into how technology can enhance security innovation in Europe.
Thank you, Paulina. Hello, everyone. For me, it's the site for the welcome to the approve the Setoff platform. It's the one moment. Is the welcome to the Setoff platform, and it's but it's not alone here. It's the other.
That's right. I'm also Eduardo, the AI version. Yes, I'm an artificial intelligence, here to help guide. I'll admit, I still have a lot to learn. Today, we're going to walk you through Setoff, a platform created to make learning easier and more accessible. Together, we'll explore its main features and discover how it can support your growth. So, let's dive in. All right, let's get you started on Setoff. First, you'll need to register on the platform. Head to the Setoff website and look for the button that says Visit Training Area. It's usually right there on the homepage, easy to spot. Just give it a click and you'll be taken to the registration page to set up your new account. Here you'll enter some basic details, like your first name, last name, and a valid email. Don't forget to pick a password you can remember, but one that's also secure to keep your account safe. Once you've entered everything, go ahead and submit the form. Now, you should receive a confirmation email to verify your account. Sometimes this email might take a few minutes to arrive, so don't worry if it doesn't come through right away. Just keep an eye on your inbox and maybe check your spam folder too, just in case. When it arrives, click the link inside to confirm and voila, you're ready to log in. Now that you're logged in, the first thing you'll notice is that Setoff offers courses in multiple languages like English, Spanish, French, and more. So, feel free to choose the language that's most comfortable for you. Once you've selected your language, let's explore the main sections of the course area, designed to guide you through your learning journey. First up, we have available courses. Here you can browse through the different courses on offer and pick the one that best suits your needs. Next, there's the course description, which gives you a quick overview of what each course covers. This way, you'll know what to expect before diving in. If you have questions or want to connect with others, you can jump into the discussion forum. It's a great space to ask questions, interact with fellow learners, and share insights. You'll also find the references section for extra resources, the course units that make up the main modules, and additional materials with helpful documents, links, and podcasts. Finally, at the end of each course, you'll find the final quiz to test what you've learned and the certificate section where you can view and download your certificate once you've completed everything. Now, as you progress through the course, you'll notice that each unit or section is locked until you complete the previous one. This means you'll be moving step by step, ensuring you fully understand each topic before moving on to the next. Each unit includes interactive elements like quizzes or activities that help reinforce your learning. You'll need to complete these before advancing, making sure you're getting the most out of each section. Don't rush, take your time with each unit to make sure you're confident before moving forward. In addition to the main content, you'll find the references section with extra resources like articles and videos to deepen your understanding. The additional materials section includes documents, links, and podcasts to further support your learning journey. Once you've completed all the course units, it's time to test your knowledge with the final quiz. This quiz is your chance to review what you've learned and see how much you've understood. To pass, you'll need to score above 5 out of 10, but don't worry, you can retake it as many times as you need, and only your highest score will be recorded. The quiz consists of multiple choice questions that cover key points from each unit. If you don't pass on your first try, take a look back at the course materials, review any areas you're unsure of, and try again. The goal is to make sure you really grasp the material. And once you pass, you can head to the certificate section to view and download your certificate. This certificate is a testament to your hard work and dedication. It's a great way to celebrate your accomplishment and keep a record of your progress. So remember, take it one step at a time, complete each unit thoroughly, and you'll reach the finish line with a solid understanding and your certificate in hand. Happy learning! Thank you for your time and attention. Now, let's continue with the inspiring speakers we have lined up for this conference. The Setoff International Conference, Driving Innovation and Security Across Europe.
Thank you very much for both of you or three of you. I don't know. Okay. For the next session, we were supposed to have two local authorities from Spain, but due to this situation, we are not able to have these speakers. So, but we have some questions from the first panel from the first session. They were online, so I'm gonna read them, and who feels prepared to answer the question can open the microphone and just jump in with the answer. Okay, I'm gonna read the first one. Given the increasing frequency of extreme weather events like the recent floods in Valencia, how can humanitarian organizations like the Red Cross balance the need of immediate response with long-term community resilience building? What innovative approaches do you envision to create lasting impact?
Yeah, I guess there's no much choices, basically. And thank you for the question. And it's something that has been very have been intense when it comes to discussions lately. And more specifically, I'm gonna come back to the presentation that we had before on volunteers. So something that we work with a lot is the communities. At the very first, when you look at it from a purely technocratical perspective, when it comes to disaster management, we have a cycle. We have at the very beginning, we need a very immediate response. It's a shot of all the possible deployments of stockpiles, personnel, and mobilizing every possible tool that you have. But when time comes, everybody goes back home, and unfortunately, there is also fatigue to be exposed to the news, and it's there when the community that is going to be affected in the long term has to take some ownership. So it's the way we see it is how to connect with this immediate response when it comes even with spontaneous volunteers, increasing teams from different national societies or from different areas for instance with the Spanish Red Cross, and then eventually create this bridge towards sustainability and linking with the immediate recovery. It is where it's again, I'm very insistent when it comes to the communities, but it's them who are affected in the very first place, and then eventually the ones that are going to be coping and confronted with the consequences. So we need to enable them, and we need to vehiculate what they need, and then eventually provide the possibility to have a good frame so that they are not only resilient, but they can also prevent whatever comes after.
Thank you. And there is other one also focusing in Red Cross action. It says, in a rapidly changing climate, what role should the Red Cross play in influencing European disaster preparedness policies? How can NGOs shift from being just responders to become key players in shaping proactive resilience-focused strategies?
Okay. And it's for this we can do something. I can provide you what the Red Cross think or what I would give you as an answer, but I would like to also invite other colleagues in the panel because it's interesting that we share what we expect, but also it would be interesting to hear what is expected from us.
Yeah, I guess like Red Cross or NGOs in general, they are like a bridge from the grassroots to the institutions. So how the institution can take this communication from NGOs and make them as a policy.
Maybe I can start with elements, and maybe my colleague Delia will want to complement. But seen from the eco perspective, first of all, out of our corporate tradition, I would say we are working closely with the civil society, with NGOs in the humanitarian area and as well in the civil protection area. So we are already in contact, but it's very clear that with the announced preparedness strategy, with this whole of society approach that is promoted, it's clear that we will have to develop our contacts and find ways to indeed reach out to important strategic partners. And there is no doubt that the Red Cross family, with its various components at EU and global and local level, needs to be part of the conversation. The federation in particular. So I think indeed, I think the question that was asked is a very valid one, and I see it as an encouragement for us to be in closer contact. Over to you, or maybe Delia.
Okay. Yes, thank you very much. I would like to add something on Interreg. As you know, we're preparing for the next programming period. In 2025, there will be the new MFF, and hence also cohesion policy, and as well Interreg will be shaped for the next programming period. For us, the involvement both of civil society and all stakeholders is extremely important. In fact, we are carrying out on the Interreg side exhaustive stakeholders consultations. Our policy objectives are not only limited to disaster risk management, but all stakeholders interested are invited and welcome to submit their opinions on what the future of the policy should look like and what we can do to improve Interreg to make it more fit for the needs of the territories. So in this case, all our participants are more than welcome to participate to the stakeholders consultations. You can find the consultations in each Interreg program website. Of course, those are usually gathering stakeholders of the territories. We're a place-based policy, and hence we shape the policy based on the needs coming directly from them. So I would invite you to consult the website and take part to the consultations. Thank you.
Yeah, you can take the floor.
Just to give a little bit more of a more practical approach on how to do that, because that's something that we have been also discussing internally. And I'm going to go back to basics. And at the end of the day, when we discuss about this whole society approach and how we need to have all the stakeholders around the table, that's an amazing approach, and that's something that has been very welcome from the Red Cross. But when it comes to practice, what really makes these connections real is that we are included even at the technical level. So what really creates these connections is that your team or my team at the very low level, we have the possibility to have an accessible channel. So if you ask me this question, I would tend to say that it would be interesting to start being included, exactly as Lilia mentioned, this consultation for stakeholders, roundtables, be more and more active and vocal on what we have to say, because our contributions is there. We've been there, they're very close to the communities for years, but we not necessarily, we could do a better job in how to inject those contributions to the right time and in the right place. And when it comes to specifically NGOs, as we were mentioning at the very beginning, we're not for profit, but we also have a particular role to play when it comes to the disaster management systems that we have at the national level. So we are not an NGO as such. What we are is a non-profit that is for the humanitarian principles. So in that sense, we would also like to be considered as such, in the sense that we might have some differences and certain approaches, and considering the Red Cross might not needs to have other stakeholders alongside, including the NGO. So it's not Red Cross as the representation for national society, for the civil society, is Red Cross and the civil societies, considering that we have, of course, common grounds and that we're completely in connection with them in many areas of our work. But specifically in civil protection, that would be something to take into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And the last question that I have here is, as a Valencia citizen worried about the situation in my city and knowing that help that the Copernicus system brings to the rescue teams, as Miriam mentioned, what other mechanism the European Union can provide in this context?
Yes, thank you. I'm happy to reply to this. I think that it's, again, very important to say that the responsibility lays with the member states' authorities. So it's for them to decide what they need, when they need, how they need. So they have to formulate the request. We never impose ourselves, it goes without saying. I think in this case, the request that was made by the Spanish authorities was related to activating the Copernicus system for mapping, for aerial satellite mapping. So that was activated and done immediately. The rest, as it has been said, including by President von der Leyen, is at disposal if the Spanish authorities believe they need, but clearly for the time being, they have considered that they do not need that support. and that, as far as I understand, also a lot of support came from other communities and from other provinces of Spain already. So it could be that the mobilization at national level is sufficient without the need for external assets from other countries.
Thank you very much. Okay. I would like to mention again that we couldn't do one of our sessions. We were supposed to have Rubén Araque, Councillor for Security at Benaguasil Town Council, and Mr. José Luis Diego, EU Project Manager at the Valencia Local Police. They are fighting right now in Valencia, so they couldn't make it possible, but we are to attend here. But we are really thankful that they had the intention to come and to bring their insights and experiences. So I want to thank them as well. Moving to the following panel, our closing session will dive into the role of innovation, funding, and recognition in fostering European support for startups. Leading this discussion, Juan Manuel Revuelta, our CEO in Finova Foundation, will explore current opportunities, synergies with other projects, and how startups can leverage European support to fuel innovation in security. So, please, Juan Manuel, the floor is yours.
Thanks a lot, Paulina. We are at the end of the session, and we have a lot of questions and a lot of challenges. What we pretended in this synergy panel as a methodology always is just to try to offer an overview from outside of the European Commission about different calls in the fields of emergency, firefighting. Now, of course, flows is a quite interesting, is a quite important issue to start working from now. Okay, we have from the Horizon Europe, we have this amount, a lot of money in the cluster 3, 193 million euros, as you can sign, is to design to respond to the challenges arising from persistent security threats, such as natural and man-made disasters. Okay, and what is imagine also cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is also a civil security risk. Imagine if we have a problem of cybersecurity now with the water or for the emergency, is another important issue. Okay. If I'm not wrong, they will publish, we have here some of the old calls published in 2023 that can inspire us about the new calls that will be around May 2025. Then, of course, we are working in this kind of concepts and waiting for more info. But of course, now, after this data, we are going to incorporate in Finova all what is flows as a priority. We are working from many years ago in the field of firefighting. In Interreg, we have around 40 million euros, our consortium, execute or in execution, like Fire POCTEP project in Interreg POCTEP, Portugal, Spain. The biggest project was writing from one colleague of us that is in Sevilla. It's a project of 26 million euros, Interreg Cilifo, and we create this concept of an incubator accelerator for startups in that field. Okay, we have in the cluster 3, civil security for society, there are 30 million euros. It's it's finishing this call at the end of this month, but there will be the next year, Disaster Resilient Society for Europe. Okay, again, Erasmus. We are here thanks the program Setoff, that is Erasmus, and I think there is a lot of slot to work with. There are 2 calls. Especially interesting is how to do capacity building in flows and in fight and in emergency, also with third countries. In Latin America, they suffer also flows and they suffer also fights. Okay, we are talking of projects from 400,000 euros up to 1,200,000. About okay, the other interesting call, you have the website there, European Solidarity Corps. And about Interreg, this is the program, the second Interreg program we did for FIPOCTEP. Now we are in the FIPOCTEP Plus. Coming back to Interreg, we have to understand that we have some open calls at the moment. The Interreg Northwest Europe will one of the priorities, the priority 1, is about risk management, and we have we have now 2 months to work. It will be on the system Northwest Europe. About Portugal, Spain, Interreg Portugal, Spain, they will launch in January a very short call. Just it will be around 1 month. It will end in March and will be again about firefighting because it's another challenge. And from May, we expect a call from Interreg Sudoe, the May 2025, that will be also in the field of emergency security, not only fires, but also sea flows, etc. And okay, about the Startup Europe Awards, we are now working with several organizations, the World's Startup Organization, the World's Startup Organization and others. And in the following weeks and under the Setoff program, we will launch, in, I think it will be in November, we are going to launch three calls in the field of startups with innovative ideas in emergencies. One will be about firefighting, the other about risk like flows, and the third will be about the risks of what we call maremotos. Is the problem of I don't have the word in English. Maremotos, how you say?
Like the
Earthquake in the
Yes, that's it. Because there is some reports say that there is a lot of risk in some south regions in Europe, and it will be one of the content of one of the Interreg. Okay, we have DG Rio here. Thank you very much for coming. But we have to understand that every secretariat has their own polls, etc. And okay, we are going to do that because we think there is a lot of knowledge in the universities, a lot of patents, and we should be working in public-private partnership, identifying that technology for the public sector that perhaps can learn and can innovate better for responding to these emergencies that is evident that they could do better, they could have done better in Valencia. And okay, we will be working in the following weeks. For the people that are following us by streaming, please keep in contact. We would like to submit new projects in the following months, and we will invite all of you to this launching of this Startup Europe Awards, just to identify which kind of ideas in innovation. I want to thanks all these speakers, top level speakers. Thank you very much for coming, for joining us, because it has been quite inspiring. I have learned a lot. Thank you very much. And the vision from ECHO, from Red Cross, from the DG Regio, also from we have had here the vision from Delia, the DG Regio, ECHO, and from the Committee of the Regions. That has been quite interesting, this experience from Flanders. And that's what the Economical and Social Committee is hosting today, the possibility of exchange best practice, perhaps to learn a little bit, to do new projects that can afford these challenges. I want to thank all the technical team, all the team of Innova that has been working hard for being today here. All the technical support of Eduardo Mercado, and also the people from the startup N3 that has provided us the service of automatized translation and interpretation. Also, I want to thank the Economic and Social Committee for this nice meeting room that where we are at the moment, hosting us. And also the people that has been moderating, Paulina, thank you very much. The people that has been inviting and sending all the invitations, Ana Gallego, also Alex, and also Lorena, and all the people that has been contributing, like Laia and Gemma, that we had no time enough for Gemma to talk. She wanted to explain something, but it will be next time. And okay, thank you very much. I think what we have done today is just we are in the process of starting something new. We are developing that with also with people from United Nations. We are in contact with them. And okay, in the following weeks, we will inform to you, because after this Valencia Dana, we are going to react, of course. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I would like to say thank you, behalf Innova Foundation. I think it was a great panel, even though the situation right now in Europe, in all around Europe, it's so important to have this kind of event and to get more informed about this natural disaster management. I think that we had great diversity between the organizations that we hold here. We also had gender diversity, which is really, really good for an event. So I'm so happy for that. And thank you very much to everyone, to the attendees as well. So thank you, behalf Innova Foundation. Dimitrio, yeah.